So we have here the puzzle at essentially the same state as the original post, and we look at 6. We have the fin deck swing that was discussed there, the 4 6s, the fin, which removes that 6. And the next step, if we looked at the Hodoku help, would be this continuous nice loop, which is that. Complex to find, but that's what they're talking about. Okay, so what we do is I noticed that pattern and that pattern and that pattern. Between them they look interesting. So I turn on colouring candidates. I've got blue and yellow set. I can switch between the two. We start with yellow and blue. That's just what I picked. In this row, row 3, one of these 2 5s must be true. One of them. If this 5 is true, I can't tell anything over here, but I can tell you that will be a 5, and that will be a 5, and that will be a 5. We know that much. If we switch to blue, if we know that's a 5, I can't tell you much here, but this 5 will make that a 5. Where it becomes interesting is this 5 makes this an 8. Switch to the 8. This 8 makes that an 8, which makes that an 8, which makes that an 8, makes that an 8, which makes that an 8. Back to this other 5. So if that's a 5, that's a 5. If that's a 5, that's an 8. Now if that's an 8, that's the only place left for a 5. So that would be a 5, 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 and we're back to this 5. And then looking at the 8s, if that's a 5, that's the only place left for an 8. So that would be an 8, 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 and that would be an 8. Which means this would be a 5. Looking at the 5, that's a 5, that's a 5, and we're finally back. So we've got a complete loop all the way around of all the 5s and 8s. And the useful part of that is wherever 2 numbers of the same number, different colours, see each other, you can remove anything. So we can remove this 5, this 5, this 5, this 5, and then we can remove this 8 and this 8, blue and yellow, 2 8s, blue and yellow, 2 8s. So we can remove all of those 8s. But also there's only 2 options here of 5 and 8, yellow and blue. They come down to yellow and blue here. So that can never be a 1 or a 3. And this cell here can never be a 1, a 2 or a 7. So we get an awful lot of eliminations from this, which actually is what the continuous nice loop really is doing. The extension then takes us into candidate 9 that says, using the yellow again, if yellow were true, if the yellow 5 were true here, that'd be 5, then that's the only place left for a 9. And if the yellow were true again, that's the only place left for a 9. So that can't be a 9, that can't be a 9, that would be a 9. From which we can conclude all of those yellows are incorrect. The blues must be correct. And we could go through and delete all those reds because we know they're incorrect. Or we can just do the really quick and dirty thing, hit all the blues, because we know the blues are true. And that will erase all the reds automatically. And what we haven't proven is that those yellows are true or not. In fact, what happens is that we've proven the blues but not those extra yellows. What happens is that 9 is the only place left in row 1. So that's a 9, that's a 9, that's a 9. So we know we've achieved a few things there. And then we can look at the rest of the puzzle again and say, well, what else? Because it's actually been cracked. And there's a 3. There's only 1 3 here, only 1 3 here. 3's here, that can't be a 3, that must be a 1, that is a 1. That's a 2, that's a 1, that's a 4, that's a 6, and the puzzle. So that's proven that's actually a 9, 4, 1, 7, 9, 6, etc. And the puzzle is basically solved at that point. There we go.